Welcome, everybody, to the Grilling Truth Sports Network. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster, for the College Football Preview Show. We're previewing all this weekend's conference championship games, and we are at the Big Ten championship game, which will have number one Oregon, undefeated, beat Ohio State earlier in the year, ran through the Big Ten in the first season in the Big Ten, to battle Penn State, whose only loss was to Ohio State in Happy Valley. Right now, Oregon at BetMGM is a 3.5-point favorite. And if you want to go check them out, you want to check out all their great bonuses, especially for first-time users, go to BetMGM. You can click on the link in the description down below in the video. All right, guys, Penn State, Oregon. I don't think too many people thought Penn State would be in this game even a week ago. They lost 8 of 10 tiebreakers to Ohio State, but Ohio State got upset by Michigan in a game I don't think anybody saw coming, which has catapulted Penn State into the Big Ten championship game. And this game brings together two teams who don't share a rich history. You can't get much farther apart geographically than Oregon and Penn State. But College Football Conference realignment, has thrust them together on the biggest stage. There have been just 4 previous matchups, with Penn State winning the last clash in 1995, 38-20 in the Rose Bowl. They hold a 3-1 series lead in this series all time. Of course, that Penn State team was one of the great offensive teams with Kerry Collins at quarterback and the great Kajana Carter, at least great in college before he got hurt in the NFL. Now, Oregon has been comfortably the best team in college football this year and enters the game as a favorite, according to the odds makers at BetMGM. The Ducks have won both as a favorite and an underdog this year. And while they have a middling spread record, so does Penn State. The Nittany Lions lost and failed to cover in the only other underdog game in 2024. So this is a matchup that'll be played in Indianapolis. You got to figure there'll be a crowd advantage there for the Penn State Nittany Lions. Not as big as it would have been if Ohio State or Indiana would have been there, but an advantage nonetheless. Penn State travels well. So does Oregon. So you'll probably get a 70-30, maybe even a 60-40 split in favor of Penn State. Now, simply put, head coach James Franklin, can he win a big game? Since becoming head coach in Happy Valley, the Penn State head coach is a miserable 1-11 against opponents that are ranked in the top 5. That's 1-11. If Franklin is to overcome the historical stats, he'll have to rely on one of the top connections in college football, Drew Allar and Tyler Warren. The elite tight end has 1,167 yards from scrimmage, 10 touchdowns, and is dangerous on every down. Meanwhile, the Penn State quarterback will need to do things that he hasn't done. He's got to be consistent. He'll need to be at his best if the Nittany Lions are to overcome a stout defense with the Oregon Ducks that ranks 9th in the nation in average points allowed per game at just 16.4, but they just caused 1.2 turnovers per game. Now, Penn State at quarterback, Allar's taking care of the ball well in 2024. He's thrown for 2,668 yards, 18 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. Meanwhile, the Ducks have shown some vulnerabilities in the ground game. Oregon has allowed an average of 118.2 rushing yards per game, which is 23rd in the country, including allowing Ashton Jeanty to rush for 192 yards and 3 touchdowns. But really, they held him under 200 yards with Jeanty. Hell, they did a decent job. Now, Penn State has a dangerous running duo. You've got Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen. Now, they can't be compared to the best rusher in the country, but they can definitely cause problems in this game. Singleton has rushed for 733 yards, 7 touchdowns, while Allen is almost 700 yards, 5 touchdowns on the ground. On the opposing side before Oregon's offense has been one of the most lethal in college football, and the experienced Dylan Gabriel leads the conference in completion percentage and passing yards, throwing for 3,275 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. I really don't understand why he doesn't get more buzz for the Heisman. Not saying he'd be my number 1 pick, but I think he's definitely the top 3, and nobody ever brings him up. And it's sad because he's led this Oregon team to an undefeated season, to the Big Ten championship game, and he's been largely overlooked because of how amazing Jeanty's been, and then, of course, Travis Hunter up in Colorado. Now, Gabriel's receiving corps of Tez Johnson, Evan Stewart, and Trayshawn Holden, plus Evan Ferguson, are some of the most threatening weapons in the nation. And in running back Jordan James, who has 1,166 yards and 13 touchdowns, you have one of the most formidable offenses in all of college football. Penn State defense limits teams to 14 points per game, but it will need to play better. even better than that, to have a chance to win this game. By better than that, I mean 14 points a game would be pretty amazing, let's face it. But when you look at this game, this Penn State defense is going to have to play out of their minds. I mean, Ohio State has an excellent defense. They still gave up in the low 30s to Oregon. You have a coaching advantage in Oregon because I'm sorry, but I've been around James Franklin in my life and been around people that have been around him, and he's a miserable human being. And I think that's a lot of the reasons why he can't get it done in the clutch. He's not getting it done in the clutch in this game either. Now, the issue is, can he stay within the 3.5 points? I don't think he can. I think this Oregon team has a deadly, formidable offense, a very good defense. I think they're the best team in the country. I don't know that that means I think they'll win the national championship, but they're definitely in the conversation as one of the top 3 or 4 teams. And, just because you're the best team doesn't mean you're going to win. Now, you could ask the Ohio State Buckeyes. I think the Buckeyes were superior, had a lot more talent than what Michigan did. But that man that coaches Ohio State, Ryan Day, got completely outcoached against Michigan, made some catastrophic mistakes, which is why we don't get to see Oregon versus Ohio State, which I think would be a much better game. I think in the end, Oregon wins this game. I think they win it in the realm of 30-17, 30-16, something like that. I think they'll advance as the #1 seed in the college football playoffs, and they're going to be a tough out for anybody that plays them from here on out. As for Penn State, I'm sure they'll still make it to the college football playoffs, but James Franklin will still coach them, and all playoff games are huge games. So we all know how that'll probably end for Penn State, and it's a shame because Penn State has a great fan base. They've got a great football team, and it sucks that they're dragged down by having James Franklin as their head football coach. Maybe that'll change if they lose 2 more games in a row here. Maybe the people that are in charge at Penn State will realize they want to be a little bit better than the 3rd or 4th best team in the Big Ten. All right, guys, remember, BetMGM is the top sports book for betting on college football. Make sure you click on the link in the description down below in the video. If you have an X account, you can follow us, follow me at Grueling Truth. We give you every sport known to man. We give you breakdowns. We give you previews. Go check out the articles at gruelingtruth.com. And like, subscribe, hit the bell notification on YouTube. All right, guys, that's it for tonight. Make sure you check out all of our conference preview shows as they get posted. We've already done the first 2. We've got 2 left. So make sure you follow us. But for now, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.